Okay, I finally figured out how to get my Zoom working. Oh, yes. And it was as simple as, well, first, you got to go and make your Zoom. Over here, you make your IA Zoom. What's that? That's an asset. What kind of asset is that? Well, let's go and find out. It's a input Zoom input action. So we make an IA Zoom. IA stands for input action. And then you got to make your IMC or a context. And what is that? Okay, well, let's look over here, IMC again. We've got our or context. That is a enhanced input mapping context. IMC stands for input mapping context. And then in the input mapping context, you put your Zoom mapping, which is really simple in this case. I just turn on mouse wheel access for my IA Zoom. I add IA Zoom to my array of mappings, and I add mouse wheel access. All right, awesome. And what else do we have to do? Well, in our code, we have to go into our code and make sure our code is properly assigning the mappings so that they get activated. So right here in our player controller, oh, where is that? It's over here. So right here, enhanced input component bind action, Zoom action. And then we're attaching it to our Zoom function, which we defined over here. Our Zoom function right here, and in our Zoom function, we do our Zoom work. Here we are doing our Zoom work, and which eventually is messing with the spring arm to make the spring arm pull the camera forward and back, giving us our Zoom. Technically, it's a dolly, but most people think of it as a Zoom. And then one more thing we have to remember to do. Okay, now what was that? That was here in BP Aura player controller. Our Aura, which comes from our Aura player controller, which comes from our player controller, which is the Unreal base class for this controller. So we go to our player controller and we add to the Zoom action our Zoom IA definition. So now when we do a Zoom, the Zoom gets triggered and the code gets triggered. If this isn't plugged in, the code doesn't trigger and nothing happens. But in this case, we are happily zooming in and out, and we are so happy. We are so excited. We are on fire with our Zoom capabilities. Yeah! All right. Now, let's zoom later.